Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Aggretsuko Season 2, Episode 2. So yeah, we're back here with another episode of Aggretsuko today, and yeah, I'm excited. I enjoy this series very much. I enjoyed the first season, and Season 2, with its first episode, seems to be shaping up for more of the same greatness. I think I mentioned it during the first episode reaction, but it's not the best series out there. But I enjoy it nonetheless. I think that it does what it needs to. It has good commentary on working life and various other things. I like the characters. I like the dynamics with how they interact. So yeah, I think it's overall a very fun, very enjoyable series. But that being said, I I don't know where this is going to go, because episode 1 of this season gave us Retsuko's over-controlling mother, who broke into her house, committing a legitimate, crime, basically just to be over-controlling. But Retsuko is the kind of person, or I guess Red Panda, who wouldn't confront someone on that. She's very non-confrontational. I did mention that in my episode 1 reaction, I don't remember if it was my pre-thoughts or afterthoughts, but I also mentioned how I'm very non-confrontational as well. And sometimes it sucks, because sometimes when we need to confront people, especially family, we can't. We just can't. It's not even like, oh, you just need to try harder. No, it's not that simple. It's almost like a mental disorder. We legitimately can't. And for those of us like myself who actually has mental disorders like depression and anxiety, it makes it even worse. Because on that level, if I even try to say anything, my anxiety shoots through the roof, and I just kind of practically nearly have a breakdown. So yeah, it's not great. But what I'm saying is I know the feeling, and I know the feeling of having over-controlling parents too. So it's definitely another one of those relatable issues that this show tackles in its own way, of course. So I appreciate that. It's just hard to watch at the same time. But yeah, I don't know where it's going to go from there. I assume we're going to see more of Retsuko's mother throughout this season. There was mention of a new hire, because apparently the cute-ass seal girl is leaving the office. So they're getting a new hire, and Tan ordered our main three, Retsuko, Feneko, and Haida, to, basically welcome the new hire in and make sure they're all set. And also, Retsuko's mom has set her up with a blind date against Retsuko's will, and with the intention of marriage. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but this is a lot more common, I guess you could say, in Japan than here in America. When I watch these shows and stuff, you have to remember that I'm viewing all of this from an American perspective. Here in America, something like a parent arranging a date with the intention of marriage for a child would be viewed as extremely problematic. But in Japan, the idea of the standard living situation where, where marriage is a very big deal of a person's life, especially for a young woman, you see this a lot in various anime and whatnot, and you hear about it all the time in terms of Japanese culture of how parents will do this kind of thing. Parents will bug their children like, "Oh, do you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend?" Especially the girls, because let's be honest here, Japan is very progressive in a lot of ways, but in terms of people, not as much. Japan honestly is very regressive in a lot of human aspects. The way that it handles relationships is one example of that, as well as certain human rights subjects. And the big thing is that in Japan, marriage is viewed as kind of a necessity. It's viewed as something that you need to do, something that is like basically, uh, there's no argument against it. And I'm very sure there are people in Japan who don't get married or who live adult lives and without worrying about that as much, like Retsuko does in here. I'm very sure there are. And I'm not just even talking about like the NEETs or whatnot. There are probably just regular, ordinary working citizens who just aren't thinking about that at the moment, just like there are here in America. But in Japan, it's viewed as much more of a standard. You're supposed to get married, especially if you're a woman. I don't understand why specifically, but again, and they might have changed, but everything I've heard, everything I've seen, again, how it's always displayed in anime, that's always how it kind of goes. It's basically like you have to get married, have children, carry on the family, basically. It's kind of seen as an obligation, much more than it is here, where here in America, it's like people can grow up and live their lives as adults without even thinking about it at all, without ever even wanting children or romantic or even whatever romantic connection with anyone. And here it's a lot less looked down on. There are some people for sure in America who do look down on it, but for the most part, and especially with how much more progressive America is getting, it's not viewed as much of as it's not viewed as much of being out of the ordinary anymore. In fact, it's actually getting more and more common that as people grow into adulthood nowadays, that they're waiting to do all of that. They're waiting on marriage. They're waiting on having children. And there are very much exceptions to that, but they're waiting because they want to get their lives in order first in a lot of cases. Um, and I've actually heard a lot of the older generations complaining about this. It's like, oh, you need to get married and have kids. It's like, no, no, we don't have to. Even if we want to, like, we don't have to. And we can take our time doing it. We don't need to do it right away. But yeah, from what I know of how Japan has been with that, it's much more traditional in that sense. And again, that might have changed more recently. I don't know. I'm just going, again, based off everything I've seen, heard, and learned about through various sources, not just anime, by the way. Japan has a lot of very traditional viewpoints on family, is what I'm saying. Um, so I understand where they're coming from with this. This is what I'm getting toward to with all of this. I understand where they're getting at with Retsuko's mom here. Even though I don't think in the show it actually ever says that they're in Japan. I don't think it ever says where they are at all. I think it's meant to be kept vague. So that like you could insert where you think it would be, basically. I mean, for me, it just seems like it's Japan, for me personally. But it's Sanrio, so honestly, who knows? because Sanrio has Hello Kitty being from England, so you would think Hello Kitty would be Japanese too, but nope, she's English. She's British. She serves Queen and Country. uh, but in all seriousness, yeah, I really don't know where this is going to go with a lot of this. They've set up a lot um, in the first episode, but that means there's also a lot they have to cover now. Because again, there's three main plot points right now. There's the entire thing with Retsuko's blind date. There's the new coworker, and there's Retsuko's mom. Now, Retsuko's mom, you could kind of say, connects to the blind date, but I feel like the blind date itself is going to be separate from the issues with Retsuko's mom. Her mom has a lot more specific issues besides just the blind date part. And the blind date, like, I doubt Retsuko's mom is going to be hiding in the bushes watching them, though that would actually be hilarious. We got a glimpse at the guy at the end of last episode as well. And I think she showed Retsuko a picture. He didn't seem all that bad based on what we saw of it, but he seemed a lot more okay with the idea of this blind date. I mean, I still ship Retsuko with Haida, very much so. Hell, I would even ship her with Feniko. Sure, even though I ship Feniko more with Sonoda, just because the idea of it is hilarious to me. I like the idea that I've heard other people talk about, that Feniko's hatred of Sonoda is an act, and she's just playing what is the word? Tsundere. She's playing Tsundere. I couldn't remember it for some reason. That would be great though, but I could ship her with Retsuko too. But yeah, definitely Haida and Retsuko. There's just so much obvious chemistry there. Plus, honestly, the show is very clearly telling us that they're supposed to be together. It's like, it's not even subtle. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I hope this is another good episode. And so we're just going to get this started. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play, because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this episode had really two aspects to it. Yes, Retsuko's mother was brought into play again, but it was mostly surrounding the arranged date. Retsuko's mother is still setting up this arranged date against Retsuko's will, and on top of that, she's being extremely hypocritical about it, because she basically says, when Retsuko asks if this is how she met Retsuko's dad, her mom is like, no, arranged marriages are old-fashioned. We met by fate. Nothing could keep us apart, not even our parents who disapproved, and it's basically like, you fucking hypocrite. And like I said during the reaction, this is very real to this kind of situation in real life. Oh yeah. All kinds of, like, examples like this, where it's like the parents like, oh, you have to do things this way. But, I didn't do it this way. I mean, I would never do it this way, but you have to. And a lot of times the parents will try to use the excuse, oh, well, you have to be better than I was. And it's like, oh, okay, sure, I can understand wanting the next generation, whether it's family or just people out there in general, to have it better than you. Yeah, of course. But that doesn't mean that you force those ideals on people. That doesn't mean that you force your children to go through this stuff. Again, Retsuko's mom isn't just suggesting she does this. Like, if she were just suggesting over and over and bugging Retsuko about it, that would be one thing. But she's literally setting up, like, dates against Retsuko's will. Photoshopping photos of the date to make him look more appealing. Straight up lying about what the date is, like, saying or thinking or whatnot. No matter how you look at it, that's not right. That's not okay. But Retsuko feels like she has to go on the date, even though honestly she could just not show up. She has no obligation to show up. And again, as I mentioned in the pre-thoughts, yeah, family is much more taken much more seriously, I guess you could say. It's seen as a much bigger deal in Japan. Um, which again, I'm considering that this takes place in Japan. Um, but even so, she has no obligation to listen to her mother here. She could just not show up, just not go. She has. But she does go and she meets the guy, and he's not bad. I mean, he's a good guy. He even seems to understand what she's going through. He seems to have the same kind of feelings regarding all of it. Um, so he's at least a good guy, which in a lot of these movies or shows or whatever, where you have the arranged dates kind of situation, usually they do end up being good people, even if they're not right for our main character in question. They still you will usually end up being some pretty cool people, um, and that's what they went for here. He's definitely a really cool guy. There's nothing inherently wrong with him, at least that we know of. But for sure, Retsuko's just not that interested. I mean, she thinks he's kind of attractive, sure, and she thinks he's nice and even agrees with his ideologies. But that doesn't mean she wants to date him. She's not ready for that kind of commitment. She's not ready for marriage, and that's all right. But then we have the second part of the episode, and that focuses on the new coworker we were told about in episode 1. So the new coworker is a Nai, and I don't know what animal he's supposed to be. I could probably look that up. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers here. Let me see. Japanese badger. Okay. Found it pretty quickly. So Anai is a Japanese badger, and he's very high-strung, very serious about just, I guess, doing the best he can, being the best he can. He doesn't come across as a yes man, more along the lines of he's just very proper. He's Ida from My Hero Academia. Very proper, very by the books. Um, Studies the company guidelines religiously. The only problem comes in with his true self, because this proper stuff seems to be kind of a guise in a way. Like it's something he's actively doing. It's not just like a natural thing for him, like it is with Ida from My Hero Academia. Um, with Ida, it's more natural. It's just how he is. But with Anai here, it's clearly something, again, he's trying to do, something that he's actively doing. um, but then Retsuko accidentally insults him while trying to teach him the ropes. And there's 3 main points he brings up that she did. 2 things that she said, and then the fact that she took the call from her mother, which I agree with the last part. If you're at work, especially in an office job, you do not take personal calls while on the clock. If it's during your break, fine, call your mother or answer a call from your mother. Um, Also, your parent or someone like that having your office phone and calling your office phone is not okay. Granted, it wasn't fully on Retzko, but she could have hung up, honestly. Um, but yeah, the parent should never be calling the office number. That's not okay. You're supposed to be working. Even I understand that, and I don't have a job. So I actually agree with Anai about that one. But the other things that Retzko said were mostly just poor wording. Like she could have worded it better, but there was really no harm meant. Um, and like the one part, like she said, like, "Oh, I'll just take the calls from now on," and he interpreted it as, "Oh, well, that means you're shirking your responsibilities. You're supposed to be teaching me. I'm supposed to be working on all of this stuff," and it's like, chill, dude, chill. Um, yeah, it's just like, and then it's like supposedly late at night, I guess. He sends her this string of emails, and where he's aggressively pointing all of this out, pointing out all that she said and everything that he felt like was an attack on him and everything. Um, and he's aggressively demanding that she answer for all of that. That she answer for insulting him and everything else. And it's like, really? And we know he's aggressively typing this out and wording it because we see how he's acting on the other side. We see him in his apartment. He's, I guess, just moved in or whatnot. Everything's still packed up, but he's sitting on a chair looking out the window, and you see that face, and it's like terrifying. Because it's like his eyes are rolling back into his head. He has this crazed look on his face, a vein popping out. It's like, dude, what the fuck? He clearly not only is high strung, but he has a short fuse. And I have a feeling that if Retzko doesn't do something, like especially reply to him by written word as he wants, I'm afraid that he's going to file a complaint against her, which could get her fired. And actually, considering Ton, maybe she wouldn't get fired because maybe he just likes having her around to pick on her. I don't know. But yeah, it's like he scares me. Like even like Retzko, like we saw at the end, she was about to go into metal mode, but then it stopped. She shrank back and it's like, I'm scared. I'm scared too. He's legitimately terrifying. Like that kind of just attitude and the way he's saying it, the way it's just so, it's unnerving, it's unsettling. He has this like feeling of a person who could snap at any time and do something really, really horrifying. And the worst part is, honestly, that everyone else doesn't see this, that they trust him. Haida thinks he's a pretty cool guy and he laughs at his jokes. Feneko thinks he's pretty cool. Neither of them see it because all they see is just the Ida, the Ida personality. Prim and proper, a little high strung, but nothing wrong with him. They don't get to see his true self, basically. And so Retzko, like, what is she supposed to say? Is she supposed to tell them about that? Like, would they believe that? Now, I worked at Wendy's back in 2013. And there were a couple employees there who were definitely more by the book, a little more high strung than others. But most of the employees I worked with and most of the ones that I got to know during those 6 months I was there, they were pretty easygoing. It was more the managers that were very high strung and completely separate issue, but really had no communication with each other, causing so many freaking problems. But yeah, it's just like there really I've seen it, but never to this level. And I'm glad I've never seen this level of things. Also, how did he get her email? That scares me in and of itself. How did he get her email? Like, maybe she gave it to him while she was training him, but we don't really have any proof of that. And if she didn't, then yeah, there's something very creepy there. We also saw that Director Ton puts on this mask for new hires. He acts all nice and friendly and lovable towards new hires. And apparently he even did this when Retsuko, Feneko, and Haida first came. But we know it's all a mask. And as I said in the reaction, my guess is that he does this for new hires, try to get them to trust in him. And then after they've been there for a while, he starts to show his true self. And that in and of itself is really messed up. Like, oh, I'm just going to pretend to be someone I'm not to lure you into a false sense of security here so you'll stay, and then it'll be too late for you to get out. That's really messed up. But yeah, all things considered, this was a good episode. I really did like what happened in it. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was fun. Anai is a really interesting character. Yes, he scares me, but he is an interesting character. And I'm not saying that he's poorly written or anything at all. It's just, he scares me. And Retsuko's date, he was pretty nice too. And I like him for now. But I'm cautious about it because he could end up being another one like Anai who's kind of hiding his true personality. And that might be a running theme in this season. That would be interesting, would it not? Like, have multiple characters who are, like, hiding their true personality. It could be a good running theme. But yeah, it's just, I feel that there's a lot that they could do with this. And I'm not exactly sure where they're going to take it. But tell me in the comments below what your thoughts on this episode are. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,